Hi, my name's Amanda Easton. I'm a performer, singer-songwriter from Sydney, Australia. I make retro-inspired, theatrical, electronic pop. But when I'm not doing my own music, I do
cabaret,
cover band gigs, solo gigs, tribute shows, recording sessions. Welcome to my Circle of Life vlog.
And I'll be watching you from here.
This is going to be the live portion of my video diary. I still don't know what to call it, my vlog. Now, I said that I was going to join you today to talk about the anatomy of an album. Now, it's really good timing because here's one I prepared earlier. Oh, can you get that in? This actually arrived in the post today. And it's not mine, but it's an album that I worked on as a backing vocalist, so it's always really nice to see the tangible product. And I've only ever been, that I know of, I think, been featured on 2 bits of the actual black plastic stuff, the vinyl, which is really exciting. There's something, I don't know, it feels more solid even than a CD to have it in this, lovely big packaging. And of course I've been going on and on and on about making of my own, and I do apologize. It probably seems like that it's never going to actually happen. The idea was in the beginning that looking back at my last 2 releases, the one I'm doing now is going to be the 3rd of the 3. So it's going to be 3 EPs, and the big grand plan was to do it across 3 years. So EP number 1, EP number 2, EP number 3, each one had their own year, which means it should have been released years ago, and it takes forever. And I guess that's what I wanted to talk about partly today, because not long ago I met somebody for the first time, and we were talking about what we both did for a living. And when she found out I was a singer, she said something like, "Oh wow, so what do you do during the day? It must be so wonderful to have that free time." And I'm thinking, free time? Oh my goodness. Like anyone running their own business, there's very little free time. And I know none of us probably understand fully what another person's job is exactly like. So today I'm going to talk about part of the job of an indie artist. And I spend most of my time work-wise at working at gigs and, promoting them, getting paid for them, rehearsing for them, all that kind of stuff. And that takes up the majority of my life. But, the passion project part, not that I don't love performing, I absolutely love it. But probably even more so, I feel like I want to write and release my own music. So music that I write, because most of my performance is about performing other people's music, which I adore as well. But this part of my life, the original music part of my life, takes up a lot of time as well, and you don't necessarily see the financial return on that part, so it's not always easy to justify spending as much time. I know there's a lot of indie artists that are going to watch this and go, "Oh yes," but that's the part I'm talking about today. So I'm not even going to go into songwriting and, "Hi Lou, how are you going?" Songwriting and all that kind of stuff, because that's a whole nother vlog. And that's all about, well, every artist is different, but in my case, kind of mining my emotions and experiences. And as happy a person as I am, I tend to write melancholy songs. So it's about getting into all that stuff. Okay, so assume the songs are written, then you need to record them. So that's a whole nother project. So I'm going to talk about more from that point on. So I work with producers and do some of the recording and production myself, but mostly go to the experts on that. Then I need to get the album, or in this case an EP, mixed. So that's a whole nother project. At the moment, I'm in the middle of the mastering process, which goes to another person as well. And that means just kind of putting a shine on it, getting the levels of the volumes. A master is going to say, "There's a lot more involved than that." And I know there is. I just don't know how to explain it. But that's another entire project. That's what's happening now. You have to think of a lot of little things like, what order do I want to put the songs on? How long do I want the gaps in between each song? Do all the songs fit together? Because generally you tend to write more than is going to go on just the next release. And that's another decision. I've got maybe 20 songs that are finished. Do I want them all, probably not on one album? Do I want to break them up into kind of thematic groups? How do I want it to work? The music's really got to flow as, you know, a whole thing. In my case, it tends to be a period of time, or my upcoming EP is called Polaroids and Postcards, so it's very nostalgic kind of period of my life. Then there's the artwork. Now, you could work with graphic designers and art production people, but I actually really like doing that stuff myself. A lot of this kind of stuff I do myself. I'm not necessarily the best at it, but I feel like it's almost an extension of my art, so it makes sense. And if I'm working with a graphic designer and have to tell them what to do every step of the way, I figure, well, why don't I just do it the way that I see it in my head? And I'm the same way with music videos. I tend to produce, edit and direct my own music videos, all very time consuming. It is budget saving, but very labour intensive, but also artistically very gratifying. But I thought I might show you, I've just in fact finished today the front cover of my new album. I hope you can see that. Obviously I've just printed this off on my little printer, so it's going to look a bit shinier and more professional than that. But the artwork is a mix of work from a collage artist that I discovered and, you know, my own stuff. I'm turned into a bit of a Photoshop geek. I actually love doing stuff like that. But again, time consuming. Okay, so after you have to think about the artwork. Oh, thank you, Lou. You have to think about the artwork and, you know, printing it, how it's going to appear online, how it's going to appear on either vinyl or a CD. In this case, because my next release is an EP, it's not going to be vinyl, but I plan that for the next album. And then, let me see, you have to think about the music videos, obviously, and that's fun, but a lot of work. You have to think, once the thing is out there, how are you going to promote it? And there's all the web stuff, the actual website, the Facebook, the Instagram. You want everything to be themed with the artwork. So there's a lot of things to consider there. You want it to look like it's all coming from the same place. And obviously a lot of that stuff is ongoing with, you might notice, I like being on Facebook and Instagram and I post all the time. I do enjoy it, but it's a big part of the job. You've got to think about merch. Will people want to buy a t-shirt? Will people want to actually buy a physical CD? Or do they just want to download it and stream it? Well, I'll get to that in a sec. But I did have an idea for merch for this particular release because it's called Postcards. Get it right, Amanda. It's called Polaroids and Postcards. I've created some kind of vintage looking arty postcards that can actually be used to send to people or can be framed or, you know, just stuck on the fridge. And so I'm going to sell those as part of a bundle. But thinking about the actual getting the CD out there, I mean, so many people say, oh, nobody buys CDs anymore. And you know what? That's not actually true. Not in all cases. I put a little survey out to my email list recently, and a surprising number of people are still really interested in buying CDs. Not even necessarily to play, but it's kind of almost a memory and a nice tangible piece of something that, you know, that you might like. Hi Debbie, how are you? Nice to see you. So I am actually creating CDs, those little round, you know, in case you haven't seen them for a while, they're about this big. And they do fit in some car players. Some people still have the players. But that brings me to Spotify. You might have seen a bit of a rave recently by John Bonamassa. Obviously a blues legend, an amazing musician. And he came out recently saying, you know, Spotify is not a good deal for artists. Artists don't make much money from it. And, you know, the way the streaming world has gone is very distressing and depressing. And he is worried about the future of music as a result. He came up with a great term, I assume it's his term, the Kardashianization of music. And what he meant by that is music has become about more than just music. Hi, Michelle. It's about, monetizing your Instagram and having a very image-based, and it's being brought away from the pure music. He's right. I don't know that there's much you can do about it. I guess you can choose to go that way or to only focus on the music. That's personal. But I've looked into Spotify myself. I've got to say, I love Spotify. As a fan, I love Spotify. It wasn't always the way. When the whole streaming thing came about, I thought, that's ridiculous. I've got to pay every month for something I don't even get to keep. And I don't know, I slowly moved away from that idea because, especially as a person who does a lot of cover band singing, I have to learn repertoire all the time. So what am I going to do? If I'm doing a show, it might only be a one-off. Do I have to go out and buy the CD or even download the songs every time? It'll cost me an absolute fortune and it's time-consuming. But with Spotify, I can go bing and I can create a playlist that I can listen to in the car and learn all my songs, and I have access to pretty much the world of music. So I eventually went, you know what? Spotify is good, but I think you would call me a Spotify hypocrite because from an artist point of view, from someone who's actually releasing music, I don't think Spotify is a good deal. I tend to be on Joe Bonamassa's stream of thought. You realise that, somebody plays one of my songs or anyone's songs, the artist receives about 0.00, that's 2 after the point, right? 0.006 cents. If someone downloads one of my songs, depending on where they download it from, I can get it, 80 or 90 cents. And that's quite a big percentage of how much the customer has had to pay. And obviously, if you're selling CDs, the profit margin is much better. And it's not as if we do this to make money. I mean, come on. I used to work for Microsoft. I made a lot better money. It was a lot more of a stable career than making music. But most people make music because they love it and they feel this incredible desire bubbling up that they really have to make music. But at the same time, even though you're not driven by profit, you kind of have to make money. You have to make money to eat and you have to make money in order to put into the next album. So, the finance is important to a certain extent. And when I did this survey of people on my emailing list, a lot of people came back, well, not a lot. Actually, probably only about 20% of people came back saying they do listen to music on Spotify. But most of those people still bought CDs or vinyl or, got their music in all different ways. So Spotify was only part of the puzzle, which I got to say it is for me. I will still buy vinyl, absolutely still buy vinyl. CDs, not so much, honestly, occasionally. Vinyl, a lot. And if it's from an indie artist, yes. So I've had people come up to me, maybe that have just discovered my music, and they'll say, can I buy your music? Is it available? And I'll say, yeah, it's available directly from me, which obviously from a financial point of view is the best thing for me, from my website. And, I'm distributed on iTunes and Apple Music and all sorts of other places. And they'll say, is it available on Spotify? And in the past, I would have said yes. And they go, great. Oh, okay. So at least I get 0.006 cents if they play the song once. And I'm not saying that artists shouldn't have anything on Spotify, because it's a good way that, you could potentially be discovered and find a fan that maybe will become part of what you do and maybe come to a gig or just, enjoy the music, which is one of the big reasons we do this, is to be able to find people that will be moved by the music we make. But what I've decided, I've kind of found a bit of a middle ground. I've decided that I'm definitely making CDs, as I said. I am going to put my music on Spotify, but not for quite a while. So I'm not sure how long, maybe 6 months, maybe a year. So I'm going to release things via download and via CD, and I'm going to make them special because not everybody is actually really into CDs now. I think that you've got to make it extra special, a little bit like vinyl always has been. There's something about the way it looks and the way it's presented that can be really appealing. Now, someone's asking me a question. I'm going to have to look at my glasses. Oh, hi! Ashley. Ashley, I know you. It's so nice to see you. Oh, thank you. And yeah, it's lovely to see you. I know I can't see without my glasses. And so I've decided I am releasing CDs. I'm going to do a 12-page booklet, all in, you know, beautiful full colour with a lot of illustrations and collages that I've discovered from this artist. Pieces of myself, obviously, some lyrics, all the lyrics to the songs in there. And Spotify is going to come down the track in about a year when, you know, the people that really care about my music are already... they have it first. I want to make it exclusive. I want to make it special. A lot of people are aiming for being on playlists on Spotify, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think people that love my music necessarily are the people that will be finding me on Spotify on playlists. Maybe a small percentage. Most people know. Apart from the fact that I think even getting on the playlists that make a really big difference, it's a very, very slim chance. This is going to be controversial, but the way I think of it is, it's as if, you know, you have that friend that smokes and drinks, and they say, yeah, but I know this man who lived to 100 and he smoked and drank his entire life, so I'm going to smoke and drink. It's like, well, we all know that that guy that lived to 100 and smoked and drank whiskey every day of his life is not really the most common example of that. You know, he had special genes. It doesn't mean that you should smoke and drink every day of your life. And I think that with Spotify, I think, yeah, you can tell me stories about people that got songs on a playlist and it ended up, you know, putting them into the top 10 of the Billboard charts. It happens. Or even that they actually make some money from that 0.006 per play. And sure, that exists. It's rare. And it does depend on the demographic of people listening to your music. So for me, no, not for me. I'm going to create something physical as well as downloads that I hope are special and that it means something to people. Certainly that means something to me. And Spotify can have the music a little later down the line so that, you know, might mean that other people will discover it and become part of this ecosystem that I'm hoping to create. So the idea is I would rather have 2,000 people on my emailing list that actually really care about what I do. If they never buy anything, that's fine, but I'm reaching people with my music that actually want to listen to it, than go for a playlist where I might have, you know, 500,000 or even millions of people streaming it. And those people not necessarily really caring that much. I mean, I've discovered artists on Spotify, and as I said, I am a Spotify hypocrite. I love Spotify as a fan. I just don't love it as an artist. And I have discovered artists, plenty of artists that way, but I've never really gone on to go to gigs or to buy their merch or to even look at their websites. They've kind of stayed in the Spotify world, and I appreciate that, but the artist doesn't really get so much out of it. I actually heard this great set of numbers that Adele, with her last album, 25, she released it as a CD and an album and downloads first, but didn't put it on Spotify for, I don't know, 6 months or something like that. And, you know, she sold trillions, and she's Adele, and she deserved the trillion. She's wonderful. But if she had tried to get the amount of sales profit, the sales figures from Spotify that she got in that initial few months of releasing the album, it would have taken her 11 years. So that's 1.5 billion streams. That's the equivalent of the sales that she made in the first few months of the hard copies and the downloads. So that's the way it goes for me. It's my little rant on Spotify. If you want to tell me, you know, that you don't agree and, you know, give me other ideas, I'd so love to hear. Okay, let me have a look. I want vanity metrics. That's Daniel Kelso. Hi, Daniel. Daniel is a producer and an artist who I'm very happy to work with in a act called Once Around Saturn. And vanity metrics, if you're not aware what they are, is it's like saying I've got, 5,000 likes on my Facebook page and I'm on playlists that are streamed to, 1 billion people. you can have your vanity metrics. I totally get it. It does make you feel good that, you know, people are out there and then they care. And I'm not against that, but I don't think that that's going to be my main focus. Let's put it that way. And you know what, Daniel? If Once Around Saturn gets great vanity metrics, I get to enjoy the vanity as well. So you go for it. Anyway, thanks so much for watching today. This is going to be part of my the 4th episode of my video diaries, which is called Circle of Light. And I'm going to put this with the interview that I did as part of my Stage Stories segment. I'm going to put this up on YouTube by tomorrow. That's Friday morning. And the idea is I release an episode every second Friday, so a fortnight every Friday. And what I've been doing is doing something called Stage Stories, because I realised that I work with the most amazing people. They're really nice people, and you just look at the stuff they've done and it's really interesting and amazing. So I felt like I didn't have to go too far to create some content for my diaries. And this week I've interviewed a drummer. He's the drummer of Icehouse, which you may know is a very big Australian band that have done well internationally as well. And he actually joined Icehouse when he was 19. And so he's gone from, you know, working in cover bands for a couple of years to small stages in RSL clubs with a scattering of people, to going to New York, all around the world, having chats with Julie and Lennon and doing these amazing things. And he's still really humble and a really fun, nice guy. I even managed to dig up some photos from a long time ago when we first met, when we were on a record company jaunt kind of thing. So I stuck those into the interview with him as well. So I'll put that on Facebook as well, but that will be on my YouTube by tomorrow morning. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in, and please, anytime, send me questions, send me comments, tell me you don't agree with anything I'm saying, tell me that you do. Either would be wonderful. Great to see you, and I'll see you next time.
Truth will show when you stand so close, eye to eye.
So this afternoon I've got Blondie versus Pretenders at Trudgy Beach Hotel. And I've worked at this place many a time, and I've never been to Trudgy Beach. So I'm a little bit early today, and I thought, it's a little bit sad that the only thing I know about Trudgy is the pub, which could be said probably for a lot of places that I visit. But I thought, Trudgy Beach, there is a Trudgy Beach. I'm going to go check it out. This is it. Pretty nice. Well, there's my beach visit for the day. Now it's time to go to the pub. So this is the backstage of Trudgy Beach Hotel. You gotta love the walls. And this is where I'm going to interview Paul Wheeler, who's playing drums with us tonight in the Blondie versus Pretenders show. It's not his usual gig, but he's a freelancer, as well as probably being best known for being the drummer of Icehouse, which is one of Australia's most successful bands ever and is still going strong. So I'm going to try and catch him before, in between or after the show tonight. And I know he's kind of a shy guy, so I was really happy that he said that he would be happy to be interviewed. So we'll have a chat to him soon. dragged him right off the stage and said, let's do this interview. So, how'd you like the gig? It was your first one with us doing Blondie versus Pretenders.
Yes, it was a bit nerve-wracking, but I got
you were amazing as usual, but how did you feel?
I always feel okay when I'm playing.
Yeah.
Because I just like to play. And so no matter what the band is really, and how many
but
people are there.
Because we're so nice and so good, that
well,
must
it's because
help.
you're so great. That's the only reason.
That's it. Are you a Blondie or a Pretenders fan?
I'm both, yeah.
Yeah.
Big Pretenders fan.
Yeah.
I actually grew up listening to Blondie and Pretenders when I was at high school.
Yeah.
Mainly Pretenders. My brother and I used to jam at home. I was about 13 and he was about 17, and we were both into the same sort of music.
Yeah, that's handy.
And it was kind of from just after Sex Pistols, I guess, to like Police, that Led Zeppelin, which isn't, you know, isn't new wave, but I really like John Bonham as a drummer.
Yeah.
And Stuart Copeland.
It's your kind of idols, influences.
Yeah, I guess. And
but Clem Burke, Blondie's drummers.
Clem Burke.
Oh, far out.
I know.
Energizer Bunny.
Yeah, I know.
It's a bit like you.
And he can still do it. He
Yeah.
He plays a million miles an hour. Not a million miles an hour, but he can still.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
But did I read somewhere that you did a tour supporting Blondie?
Yeah, in 2000 and.
You're like, yeah. And
Three?
you're like, I supported Blondie.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah.
For God's sake, man. No, it was, 2003, but it was for about 2 weeks or something. Doing
It's
the
2 weeks
cities.
of Blondie. That's fantastic.
I know, it's probably, I mean, it is exciting because it's Blondie and I'm a fan
Yeah.
of
Did you get
theirs.
to hang out or meet them or?
I was, met them, and just because we were both backstage, you'd pass each other and say
Yeah.
hello and all that sort of thing. But it was good to watch Clem Burke from side stage and just them, because it's Blondie, like you said.
Yeah.
It's the original, the real thing.
Do you have those moments when you find yourself in that situation, you're working with people that were idols of yours growing up? Do you get that,
Yeah.
like the pinch
I
yourself
still do.
sensation? Yeah.
I still do. I think. I don't know if that will ever stop.
That's good.
Actually.
You don't want
No.
that to go away. You don't want to
No.
take it for granted.
No, I know. I don't think that'll ever stop. I'll always be like a fan
Yeah.
of music to a point. Like if I met my idols as I was growing up, I'd probably be that sort of person, you know, oh my God, that's him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because that's who I grew up listening to, I guess.
But how about with Icehouse? I mean, I remember you telling me that you were kind of discovered by Ivor Davies.
Yeah.
Did you already? I mean, what year was that? Late 80s, sometime.
2010.
Oh.
No, it was 86. It was
See,
86.
don't let this baby face fool you. He's a lot older
This
than he
light.
looks.
I'm sure it's not a baby face with 86.
No promises if you should fall. Stars die in the silence of Arabian Nights. When washes the seasons in these days of a golden age. Love in your new world, turning round and round, making some sense where there's no sense at all.
86.
So I've been playing with them since 86.
So were they already on your radar?
I was a fan of theirs.
Yeah.
A fan of Icehouse, actually.
So that's got to be a major
It was.
moment.
Yeah. When I actually got the gig, it was like, my God, I'm playing in a band that I'm a fan of.
And
all of
how
a
did
sudden-
it actually happen?
There's a music shop called Taramara Music.
Know it well.
And you do? Yeah. It seems to be a scene, or
Yeah.
used to be quite a little scene that everyone kind of met at. And Ivor still gets his guitars fixed there. And he knew a friend of mine that worked behind the counter, and then he was just talking to Ivor, and I said, well, he's going out on tour soon. He's looking for a drummer. And Glenn, his friend of mine, said, well, I know this guy's pretty young, but, you know, he's all right. So give him a ring. And he rang me, And
So what happened then when the phone rang? Were you warned beforehand, or did you just pick up the phone and someone at the other end goes, "Oh hi, this is Ivor Davies," and you go, "Oh, it's not. Oh, come on,
I'm trying to
Jim."
remember. No, it wasn't like that. I think he did call. Well, it might have been management actually.
Right.
I'm not sure because it was so
So
long ago.
ago.
I know. I played in a band with a guy behind the counter. We rehearsed 6 nights a week, and
did one gig a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in that kind of
that
band
sort
too.
of thing.
You have to start out in that kind of band.
Yeah, I still do it. No,
I assume he didn't just call you and then you got the gig. He checked you out.
No, it was. I think he auditioned me by just meeting me up at Tamara Music actually, and I played along to some Icehouse songs on a Simmons kit.
Yeah.
The old SGS 7s or something that were popular at the time, and he just had me playing along to some of the new Icehouse songs that were about to be played, and so I just wanted to see if I could do it. Really.
Yeah. So you're 19 at the time.
19, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't actually get it at first.
You didn't get the gig.
No, he. There's another guy who I think he tried out, and he's in one of the film clips, but right after the film clip he didn't work out, something happened, so I got a call back. No, they came down to Drummoyne Rome Club and checked me out again. And
Yeah.
Ivor said, just call our management. And yeah, we're going to New Zealand, and then we're going to America, we're going to New York.
Oh my goodness!
And then we're going to Europe. And the furthest I'd been was Canberra in a car to play the tennis tournament. Shouldn't be telling you all this, it's pretty
It's
embarrassing.
fantastic.
And then all of a sudden...
It's like a Hollywood
Icehouse.
story.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, I've been everywhere. And all of a sudden you're thrust into this thing and you're meeting all your rockers and idols.
And was everyone quite a bit older than you?
Yeah. Ivor was getting towards 30, I guess.
Which would have been very old when you were 19.
I know. But now I'm going, oh my God, it's young.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and one of the guys was in his 30s, I think.
Yeah. Did they look after you? Or did they kind of go, try this and do this? And
No, I think because I was quite a bit younger, I think they kind of... I think it was always like this young kid in the band. And it's still like that.
People kind of do treat you like the baby of the band. And that must be where it's come from.
Yeah, because I was so young when I joined.
Yeah. Do you remember what you felt like at your first Icehouse gig?
Oh, I've got photos of it. I took photos of Ivor and the rest of the band. And it was in Tathra or something. We were doing all these kind of like warm-up shows, I guess, before we went overseas.
Probably good for you. Imagine doing, New York first.
Yeah.
Pretty intimidating.
Yeah, I just remember going on stage and in this RSL that was packed.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I'd done like a big gig to a packed crowd. So I remember that probably because it's the first one I did.
Were you really nervous? Is that a stupid question?
No, not really. I just wanted to get on and play. I was just looking forward to it.
That's fantastic.
I think I still get that sort of thing with Icehouse just before we go on. There's a lot of people. I still get that. Not butterflies.
Like a nice nervous energy?
Yeah, nerves. I think it's good to
yeah.
have that.
Yeah.
The nerves, not nerves, but you know that sort of feeling.
Yeah. The adrenaline that keeps the energy up and the excitement.
I think if you start losing that, then that's a bit of a worry, I think.
Yeah.
So it's always good to have that there before you go on stage.
For sure.
Do you think?
I love it. No, I love it. I think it's the best feeling in the world. It's quite addictive almost.
It is.
I can't imagine having a job where I didn't do that. I think maybe I'd get bored really quickly.
No,
there has to be some kind of almost fear, just a little bit of fear. Not debilitating, but just enough to bring the excitement.
Some sort of energy.
Yeah.
It is. Once you get that hit, it's like you just want it again and again.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about drugs, I'm talking about playing.
Yeah, absolutely. Icehouse, how many years? 86 until now.
33 years.
Oh my goodness.
But there was a break there where we didn't do anything for a long time.
Yeah.
Except for the odd corporate show.
You seem to be pretty busy again now, working quite often with Icehouse.
Since about 2011.
Yeah.
On and off. Yeah, just people are interested in the band again, and keep playing, people keep buying tickets.
Yeah.
And on drums, on drum, on drum.
But we're doing a lot of those shows where it's like a big lineup. It's more like the Day on the Green,
Yeah.
and there was a thing called By the Sea, which had Sunny Boys in the Church and us, and it was like the 80s thing.
Yeah, reliving the 80s. I think the 80s has become popular again.
I know, all these
Yeah.
bands are coming out.
Yeah.
I saw that Aha are coming
I
out.
saw that too. I was tempted.
Yeah,
Are
yeah.
you going to buy tickets?
No, probably not. But it's tempting to go and see some of those bands. The only thing is, there can be a danger of seeing a band you're a fan of, and then they come out and it's just,
They're not as good as they used to
No,
be.
and
And
it's
your
sort of-
memory gets...
yeah,
for sure.
that's the only thing.
So when you're not doing Icehouse, obviously you tour every now and again, and you seem to have
Other
kind
bands.
of groups of gigs. Yeah, what else are you doing apart from, you did Rumours with us recently, and I know you're a Fleetwood Mac fan, and obviously you've done Blondie versus Pretenders. I also did a 70s gig with you. Apart from the gigs I know about, what other gigs?
I don't know, whenever I get asked that question,
You do a million
can't
things, but you
remember.
can't think of any of them. Yeah.
But I guess Icehouse is the main one.
So freelancing basically
Yeah,
all the rest
pretty
of the
much.
time.
Yeah.
So you must spend a fair bit of time learning repertoire. So
Yeah.
like tonight was the first gig you've done with us, so you had to learn 2 hours worth of repertoire that you
Stuff,
probably mostly hadn't done before. But when you're not learning new material, do you actually practice?
Can't you tell? No.
Of course, you look very slick and well practiced. But
No,
I
I
just
mean
think
the
it's an
other way.
interesting question.
Oh, do I?
For someone that is so established and
Yeah.
so good at what they do you still practice?
I do. I mainly play along to albums
Yeah.
that I'm a fan of.
Recent stuff that comes out?
Some
or?
of it, but
Yeah.
mainly albums that I listened to when I was growing up again.
Yeah, right. So you've got the headphones on, just
Yeah, or just doing practice on my own as well. It's
Yeah.
just not as much as I used to, because I've been playing with Icehouse a lot, and when you're playing with a band a lot, it's kind of
yeah, you know
need
the
to practice
repertoire
too
inside
much.
and out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm not practicing repertoire. I mean practicing skills and practicing.
skills. I should be
yeah.
practicing a lot more.
I think everybody would say that, wouldn't they?
Probably,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd hope so. Someone that really cares about what they do.
yeah.
There's always room. Like Rex Go practices, or he tries to practice a lot, and I think,
Yeah.
oh, how much better can you get?
But yeah, not as much as I used to. I think I just play
Yeah.
with bands. That's what I do. But if there's something that I find difficult, I'll work on that
Yeah.
until I get it.
So things are still
Help.
difficult occasionally.
Oh no, just get it smooth.
Yeah.
Just smooth or fills that I hadn't thought of using before,
Yeah.
and you try and put that into your playing.
Yeah.
It's like different people you grow up listening to. You kind of take bits and pieces of the different players and try and make it
Your own.
something of your own,
Yeah.
kind of. Which I think my playing kind of is really. It's bits and pieces of other people.
Yeah.
Stealing, like,
But everyone is, aren't they? I
Yeah,
mean, you're a
all-
product of your influences, whether you meant to
Yeah.
be or not.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Everyone's influenced by someone.
Can you remember how we met?
I do. That's all right.
I've got to drag
But I
out. I've
didn't-
got to dig up a photo.
You
There's a
can't.
fantastic
Oh, do you
photo
have
of
one?
us. Yeah.
Okay, I'll show
Going,
me.
you know,
The
into
next,
the camera.
and I think Chris Camzelis
Yep.
was on the gig.
So tell us about the gig.
Can't remember it. I just remember bit, you know, it was late. It was very
Well,
late.
I remember. Okay, so it was
It was
Duncan
fun.
James. It was a
Yeah, it was
singer-songwriter
Duncan. That was
called
good.
Duncan James, and he was signed to BMG, and it was a BMG roadshow.
That's
So
right.
you played on the album, I think.
Yeah, a few songs.
Yeah, I didn't sing on the album, but he just needed a backing singer for the roadshow. So the roadshow is the time that artists do gigs and present themselves to radio and media and retail. You know, it's the record company's way of saying these are our biggest, brightest artists for the next year or so. So we were on a bill with a few other artists, but I think Duncan James was kind of the lead artist, and there was a lot of nervous tension. I don't know if you remember, there was a lot of, I think, you know, Duncan was nervous. It was a big night for him, but there was a lot of pressure on, you know, all of us for that kind of a show in front of, you know, the who's who of the music industry. So I think that after we were in Melbourne,
It was Melbourne, right?
yeah, we were staying in
been a while, yeah.
Sofitel.
Okay. God, you remember that even.
I do, because I remember I had a beautiful view over,
did you? Oh, okay.
I don't know what part of Melbourne it was, but it was
Right.
beautiful, and I really remember that, the windows and the view. And so of course there's always a party after the gig, so we did the gig and we did great, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
And of course everything's on tap. The record
Yeah, right.
company provides, you know, everything, and so and after all that nervous energy and, you know, doing a great job of the gig, and we were staying overnight. The good thing about those gigs is, you know, mostly we have to drive home.
Yeah.
So there's only so much hanging out and partying that you get to do unless you're on tour.
Yeah.
And like these kind of gigs, you drive home and that's kind of the end of it. But I think it's nice when you all get to hang out together and enjoy the party part as well. And I knew Matt Fell, who was on bass. I think he was on bass for that gig.
Was he?
And but apart from that,
Okay.
I didn't know anyone in the band, including you.
Mm.
So it was a kind of a nice thing that we all got thrown together
Yeah.
and did this gig and all this energy. And then, you know, we had probably all of us had a really late night.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah, I know.
Well, we didn't get up to any, but nobody
Yeah, I
got up
know.
to any particular mischief. It was just a really fun night.
Yeah.
And
I've had people giving me phone calls saying, "What have you been up to? What have you been doing?"
well, this is my next question. You know, I mean, so you were 19. You'd already done a couple of a couple of years worth of cover band gigs before you joined
there's a lot of
Icehouse.
cover stuff. Yeah.
And then suddenly you're on tour around the world, and as well as Icehouse for years, you've done a whole lot of other stuff. You must have some stories.
Well, there were a lot of get-togethers, if you want to call them that.
That's very nice. There were get-togethers.
Yeah, after shows and things like that, which I think
Are you talking about groupies?
groupies.
Yeah.
No, nothing like that.
Aw.
No.
Let's get together and get together. I mean,
No.
right.
Oh, I just
Just mean parties.
we did a show in New York at a place called the Ritz, and that was filmed on VHS. That's when I was 86.
You were 86.
I was 86. No, that was in 86, just after I started playing with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we went to New York, there was like a star-studded audience, you know, and just people that you wouldn't usually meet after, you know, me playing in cover bands, and all of a sudden there's Hall Notes and
Oh wow.
it's Julian Lennon and David Bowie's band, and we all went out and we went to a place called the China Club, and you walk in there and he's not alive now. John Entwistle was there in the corner with a few different people, and Julian Lennon was nice.
Yeah, you had a chat.
Yeah, he's just a normal guy. Dweezil Zappa was there, you know,
Yeah.
Frank Zappa's son.
Yeah.
I think the record company took us there. And so there were people that were on their label.
Yeah, right.
It was like Chrysalis Records, and you know, you just end up meeting people when you're playing over there and touring over there.
Yeah, amazing.
There were TV shows we did, like in Europe, and you know, Cheap Trick were there, and all these different. Roger Taylor from Queen was there.
Oh wow.
I think he had a single out called Cowboys and Indians, and he was doing a solo thing. I'm pretty sure that's right. Yeah, but after a while, it just becomes a bit of a blur.
Yeah.
Because you're so busy, you know, you just go to the airport and hotel, and then the gig, and then back to the hotel,
Yeah.
and the next day you're out again, you know.
Would you ever write a book?
Don't think anyone would buy it.
Oh, of course
Or
they
read it.
would.
What would you call it?
Babyface.
Babyface.
No, there's already a producer called Babyface.
There is too.
He's
isn't
taken
there?
that name, sorry.
Um,
So what does music mean to you?
Nothing. No. Well, I don't know what I'd be doing if I wasn't doing this. I can't really imagine doing anything else. I've been doing it for so long.
Did you always
Playing
know
music.
that it was going to be your career? Or hope?
Yeah, something happened, and I just thought, this is what I wanted to do.
What
I don't
happened?
know. You know, my brother was playing guitar and I was playing drums. I remember seeing this drum kit on TV one day, and I was really young. And I just remember seeing this big, shiny drum kit, and I don't know what it was about it. But I just thought, that's what I want to do. And I used to get a couple of spoons and hit the carpet. I'd find a spot where it sounded like a bass drum,
Yeah.
and the higher part where it sounded a little bit like a snare drum. So I would go, you know, between the two. So when I got onto a kit when I was a little bit older, I kind of had a bit of coordination already just from hitting the carpet when I was 4 or something, or whatever, and crossing over to a drum kit. My first drum kit was from my parents, it was $85, and it was all stained yellow from all the clubs that it had been in. Like some really old kit with the calf skins.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think my parents were hoping I was going to grow out of the whole music phase.
Yeah,
but
it didn't happen.
didn't.
Thank you so much.
Oh, was that it?
That's
Well, nice to
brilliant.
meet you.
You're the best.
Truth will show when you stand so close. Eye to eye, and I'll be watching you. But I'll be watching you.